if you want to call my church a cult, you can technically call every other church a cult then too.
Welcome back to another episode of Latter-day Believers. I'm Wilson, and we are here today with Jenny from the great state of Wisconsin. How did those lessons with the missionaries go?
My family was very against it, especially like my brothers. My brother told me, like, have you looked up anything about the church? Like, have you seen all the stuff that is said? And I'm like, all the stuff that you say is not true. And then it continued getting worse. I was at the point where like it started hurting to like the point where I'm like, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore.
Jenny, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I'm actually really excited to get to know you and to get to kind of talk about your conversion story and all this great stuff. Would you just be able to kind of take us to where your conversion story starts?
So my conversion story, I guess, would this is before I even met with missionaries, but my parents, my mom and my stepdad got married. My little brother goes to a Catholic school here, and we would attend service and stuff like every now and then, but like I was always just sitting there just like, I want to go home. I'm so bored.
Okay. Yeah.
And I just hated how like they were constantly just felt like they were just, everything was so by the book.
Uh-huh.
And I got so annoyed with it to the fact that like one day I was like, I'm over this. I was able to drive. So I grabbed my keys and I left.
Just like walked out of church.
Yeah.
Dang. All right, making a statement.
But I stopped going to church then for a while, and I had no idea like about the church, about like what it was, or that it was the Mormon church, even though everybody had always given bad like rep for like the Mormon church. And
of course
obviously the missionaries came into contact with me. We had sisters, and they asked me, I don't even know how like they came into contact with me, because I don't think I filled out like the come unto Christ like ad, but I had started seeing that all over my Facebook after like they came into contact with me, and I'm like, what the heck? What is going on? So then the sisters asked me if they could come over, and I was like, sure. I mean, why not, I guess. So they came over. They brought me a Bible and the Book of Mormon.
There you go.
And I looked at the Book of Mormon and I'm like, oh, okay.
Okay.
So I just listened to like what they had to say, and at first like I wasn't really wanting to like acknowledge like the fact that that there's like other religions and like get to know about the LDS church. But then it started, and I started going through a lot of things mentally. Like before I had met with them in like March, I had attempted suicide.
Wow. Okay.
So I was struggling a lot with my mental health, and I just didn't really even care. Like I turned to drugs, alcohol, like everything that I could just to like numb the pain.
Yeah.
But it didn't help. It just made it worse. So the missionaries met with me, and then those two missionaries actually ended up going home. Then we had two other sisters that came. I kind of cut off like all contact with like the missionaries and everything, and like if they like called me or anything, it went straight to my voicemail.
Oh, okay. Dang.
So I was like, as they would tell me, they were like, I was the forbidden red dot.
Oh, you were the red dot.
I was a red dot.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
So then they came back into contact with me February, I believe, or like end of January.
Okay.
So like right at the beginning. Yeah. I would wanna meet up and do, like, a little Bible study, and I'm like, "Sure, why not?" I mean, um, I was like at this point, I was like, I know that, like I know Christ is out there, and, like, there has to be a church that I fit into
Okay. So you're still seeking
because
for something.
yeah, I was still
Mhm.
seeking for something after finally, like, cutting everything, like, off. I think after a while when I had finally, like, started, quitting, like, alcohol and, like, all the drugs and stuff, I had finally, like, realized, like, I don't want my life to go this way. Like, I know I have so much more than just drugs, alcohol, and waking up and doing the same thing over and again. That, I I started praying, and I prayed for, like, the first time in however long, and I'm like, "This is weird. I don't think I'm gonna get anything from it." Then, I was scrolling through TikTok one day, and I went past one of my friend Sophia's page,
Mhm.
Sophia Demucci. She actually did one of these interviews with you guys.
Really?
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
she has a Facebook page called the Latter Day Converts or Converts of Latter Day, um, something like that. So I joined it, and I'm like, I want to get to know more about the church. I had no idea that it was the Mormon church at first. So I started like reading things and like I started feeling like a sense of like hope
Mhm.
and comfort as like I read everybody's like testimonies that were posting like
Yeah.
their testimonies on the Facebook. That's when I finally like agreed to fully like start getting lessons and learning
Mhm.
from the missionaries.
So how did those lessons with the missionaries go?
They went really well, but I just knowing my how my family was, like my family was very against it, especially like my brothers. I came home one day after hanging out with the sisters, like I had gotten lunch, and then my brother was like, "So why are you just hanging out with all these random people recently?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And he was like, "Well, you're just starting to like act different, and it seems like you're just trying to go along with like the new trend that people are starting." And I'm like, "How is joining a church a trend?"
I feel like if
And
anything, it's been trending in the opposite direction lately, but
right?
I don't know.
Obviously.
I don't know.
So then my brother told me like he was like, "Have you looked up anything about the church? Like, have you seen all the stuff that is said?" And I'm like, "That is the stuff that is online. Like, all the stuff that you say is not true." And he's like, and then he continued to send me a bunch of articles like about the like church and about like the past of like the church, and a lot of these were things about the SLDS church.
Really? Okay. Which, like, unfortunately, happens kind of a lot. Common
Yeah,
misconception. Really wish it wasn't, but yeah.
yeah. So I was like, there's a big difference between the FLDS and the LDS church.
Mhm. Huge.
They
Huge.
Yeah,
We cannot express
huge,
this enough.
huge, huge difference. And then he just didn't really care because, like, he was like, "It's my way or the highway." So I'm like, "Okay, buddy, you do you. I'm gonna continue doing what I wanna do because, like, I was happy for, like, the first time in so long." Like, so then I continued, meeting with them, and then it continued getting worse. He told me that I'm just gonna be a baby maker and that I'm gonna be one of many wives, and I'm like, I just at this point, I wanted to be like, "You're you're stupid," but it's like but I was at the point where, like, it started hurting to, like, the point where I'm like, "I don't even know if I wanna do this anymore." So, I texted the sisters and I'm like, "Listen, I have all of this going on, and, I honestly don't even know if this is, like, right for me anymore." And, they, were like, "Can you meet up? Can, like, we meet up because we really wanna, like, talk to you?" And I met up with them, and, they told me, like, they're gonna be facing a lot of, like, negativity from people. And then, they read out a scripture for me, which was Alma 7, verse 11. And he shall go forth suffering pain and afflictions and temptations of every kind. And this, that the word must be fulfilled with which saith he will take upon him the pains and the sickness of his people. And they were like, I just felt like we couldn't tell you this over the phone. We had to tell you in person. And I remember like after they cried, like they read that to me, I bursted out crying because I just felt like it's something I needed to hear.
Yeah.
I then agreed to like start coming to church. My first church thing that I went to was a stake conference.
Okay. So was it a
Yeah,
snooze fest or like
there were so many people, but like it was crazy. I'm like, what are you like? What is going on? Like people are all like taking a part of like the sacrament. And I'm like, what? Like when I was going to like the Catholic church, there's like the
Mhm.
confirmation or
Yeah,
the
yeah.
yeah, I don't remember the word, but
Um of
something.
communion
Yeah.
something.
You
Yeah.
have to have like the communion class or whatever.
Hmm.
And I'm like, what do I looked at them and they looked at me and I'm like, and they're like, go ahead, you can take one. And I'm like, what? I was like, I didn't think you were able to just take one, but I did that and I was super confused because there are people that were like all going up there and talking and I'm like, what is going on?
Well, it's definitely I've been to a Catholic mass before. Definitely a little different, for sure.
Then I noticed a lot of people like when they went up there, a lot of them there was one person that was like talking about her conversion story and she like bursted out crying and I asked the sisters, I'm like, why is she crying? Like did something happen that like she doesn't want to talk about? Like I was super confused. And they were like, well, sometimes people just feel like the spirit and like it's just so strong that like you can't help your emotions. And I'm like, oh, okay.
There are a lot of tears at church. A lot of tears.
At this point, I had been getting lessons for about like a month straight. And I had been attending church and everything. And like another month or like a couple weeks passed or so, I texted the sisters. I was like, hey, I want to get baptized.
Oh shoot. Okay. So it's getting real.
Yeah. So it started getting real and like I was on my way to work and they called me and I answered the phone and all of a sudden I hear high pitched screaming and I'm like, whoa. And I dropped my phone as like they were calling me. It's like the phone hangs up and they call me back. And I'm like, I am so sorry. You guys scared the crap out of me. And they were like, so you actually want to be baptized? And I'm like, I mean, yeah. And they're like, I hope you know, like, we have a lot that we have to cram within, like, however long, because I wanted both of them to be there for when I got baptized. And there was a chance that one of them were going to get transferred.
Okay.
So they crammed like a bunch of stuff worth of like lessons because like you had to have like all those lessons done before you can get baptized, I
Mhm.
guess.
Mhm.
So they crammed like all of that stuff within 8 weeks.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm having lessons like every single day.
Holy yeah, you guys were grinding.
Yeah. I had done all the lessons and everything. It was the day of my baptism. My stepdad came. I remember getting in and I was like super, super cold. I was freezing. But I remember like all I remember is like the sense of like warmth. And I don't remember anything else after that. I felt like I was under the water probably for at least like forever. Like I don't even remember. And then I remember when I came back up and, like, the water was just, like, still all warm, and I felt like I was getting a big hug, and that's, like, when I knew, like, my heart started racing, that's, like, when I knew, like, this is what I was supposed to do.
Wow. Jenny, that's really, really special. I love that because ultimately, like, I feel like a lot of conversion to Christ is it's all a leap of faith, right? And a lot of times we don't really see like the fruits of that until after we've taken that step. And I feel like you just kind of demonstrated that, right? Like you took the step and then there it was. There was the confirmation. But we have to show our faith first, just like you did. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot, and, it was super emotional, but me thinking that since I got baptized, all my problems would stop.
Uh-huh. If
It
only.
just stirred and yeah, it stirred the pot.
Oh boy.
So then, my brother started, like, saying more things, and he ended up calling my older brother, and I was coming home from work one day. I had gotten off of, like, a really, like, hard shift, like, it was torture, and, I heard him talking to my older brother, and I heard him laughing about, like, the fact he was like, "Yeah, Jenny is a Mormon now," and I'm like, "That's when," and, like, it hit me, and I remember, like, going into my room, and I stayed in my room probably for, like, the rest of the night, and I just cried, like, the whole entire night, because I had finally felt like my mental health was getting better too, because, like, I finally like, as I said before, like, I knew God was there, but I didn't feel their love for me until, like, I was baptized. And I just, like I just remember as I was crying, I felt, like, a sense of, like, the Holy Ghost was, like, just holding me. And I just, like, felt like a prompting just to open my Book of Mormon, a scripture that I came past. It's from Second Nephi, chapter 1, verse 10. It said, "But behold, when the time cometh that they shall dwindle in unbelief, after they have received so great blessings from the hand of the Lord, having a knowledge of the creation of the Lord and all men, knowing the great and marvelous works of the Lord from the creation of the world, having power given them to do all things by faith, having all the commandments from the beginning, and having been brought by his infinite goodness into his precious land of promise. Behold, I say, if the day shall come, they will all reject the Holy One of Israel, the true Messiah, their Redeemer, and their God. Behold, the judgments of him that is just shall rest upon them." And I remember after I read that, like, that's kinda when I was like, "Okay, I don't care anymore. I don't care what people say."
Wow.
I stopped letting what people were saying to me, like, get to me. Like, I everybody was like, "Oh, you're a cult member," and I'm like, "Technically, no, but, like, yes, I'm a member of the church, but if you wanna call my church a cult, you can technically call every other church a cult then too."
It's true at the end of the day. It
Yeah,
depends on their definition of a cult, right?
right? I mean, if you're talking about, like, a group of people that are just getting together to talk about, like, the about Jesus and, like, everything, like, go ahead, you do you. I'm not gonna change your, like, thoughts and stuff because I'm not like that. But I just, like, let what people would say just roll right off. I mean, because I didn't care.
And I have a lot of respect for that because that's difficult. Especially I feel like just with where we are in the world right now, where all we care about is what other people think about us and what other people have to say, right? But being able to get to a point where you care more about what God thinks than what other people think, I have so much respect for that because that's something that I'm striving for every day. So, Jenny, I think that's really, really cool.
Like, the past couple months, I had some rocky, like, time when, for I kind of fell back into, like, a little bit of, like, a pretty bad, like, area with my mental health because and I stopped attending church. I stopped, replying to like messages from people. I just really didn't care. But I it was at the point where um I kind of just like started ghosting people just because I was trying to figure things out by myself. Like I let what my brothers say get to me, and then like the biggest thing that kind of hurt a lot was when I found out like why my grandma didn't come to my baptism after I invited her. She told me that like she didn't see my church as a religion, and that's kind of what like hit me. So yeah.
So I feel like that's something that honestly a lot of people who are active members of the church and who have converted to the church recently, I feel like it's something that like pretty much everyone kind of struggles with is support and is like, opinions of others and harsh criticism and that sort of thing. How would you recommend somebody approach that or kind of handle that?
My best like advice would be don't let it just sit there and bother you. Like I've done that for however long and it does not help. Like reach out to the missionaries or reach out to like bishop or something because like that's what they're there for. Like they're there to like talk to you and like help you through things. Or when in doubt, like I know it's the most basic answer, but pray. Like he he's there for you. Like he wouldn't put you through things if he didn't think you could do it. Even if some of the things aren't the greatest that you might have to go through. But he's been through it and like he knows like if he can do it, we can do it.
And I think that's incredible advice, especially coming from someone who has been in the trenches, who has experienced that, right? So much. Jenny, I have so much respect for you, genuinely, because that is so difficult. Since you've been baptized, you said it's been about 7 months, right?
Yeah.
So how do you feel like your relationship with Christ has developed since you've gotten baptized over these last 7 months?
So it's gotten a lot better. And
Really?
I am currently right now, like up until like the end of the year, I'm trying to fully read through the Book of Mormon because I have not done that yet.
That's fantastic. Okay.
Like I've read all of the Doctrine and Covenants and the Pearl of Great Price, but
Wow.
I have not been able to get myself to fully read through the Book of
Hey,
Mormon.
those Isaiah chapters are brutal. Like, and the word hey, we've been there. We've been there.
Yeah.
But
And it
that's a
doesn't help.
fantastic goal.
Yeah, and it doesn't help like with how like some of the spelling is like old English and stuff.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm already like I hardly can read at like regular English as it is because like I have dyslexia. So it's like all these things and I'm like I just need to focus. And like what I did before, I was like, you know what? Not I don't think it'll help any, but I prayed. And I was able to actually start understanding it. And I'm like, wow, like I understand what's going on. So that was pretty cool. I then started doing like family history stuff too. And I was like, I have no idea like about any of this stuff because I don't know. They were asking me things about my father, and I'm like, my father's not really in the picture.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I was like, I don't know any of this information. And they're
Mhm.
like, well, we'll figure it out. And I'm like, okay.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I started doing family search, and then I noticed I had someone that was adding stuff to my family tree,
Mhm.
and I'm like, "Who the heck is that?" Because for whatever reason, I thought, "Oh, maybe you're probably the only member." No. Like, going back, like, I don't even know how long, like, there was members of the church for so
Mhm.
long,
Really?
but I had yeah,
Hmm.
but I had active family member, she lives in South Dakota, and, I messaged her and I'm like, "Hey, this might be super random, but, like, I wanna know how we're related." and I was related through her, late husband, and it was crazy, and she has been a big part of my conversion since then, like, her and I keep in contact almost every single day.
That's awesome.
I Yeah, and, like, whenever we talk, it's, like, not short messages, that's, like, long that you have to scroll.
Paragraphs kinda thing. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, she told me about she has a son right now that is serving in Norway.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so he's serving right now, and I'm pretty sure he's serving in the same area that, the sister that I had was serving
Who
I had,
who got
who
reassigned?
first
Oh my gosh. Crazy
so it was
connections.
yeah, so it was super crazy, and that's when, like, I was like, "I actually have a family member that's a part of the church." And, whenever I'd be struggling, like, after everything that happened with, like, my grandma and stuff, I was struggling a lot. So, I told her, like, "I don't even think this is for me." I was like, "I'm about to just, like, say just, like, back up and just, like, stop going to church." And she's like in one way or another, she, like, was like, "Let's not do that." So, she sent me a talk. It was from General Conference from, President Nelson. It was, like, "Let God Prevail" from the October, 2021.
Mhm.
And there was one part that, like, fully, like, stuck out to me. It was the when you are faced with temptation, even if the temptation comes when you are exhausted or feeling alone or misunderstood, imagine the courage you can muster as you choose to let God prevail in your life as you plead with Him to get strengthen you. That has stuck with me since then, and it's just, like, whenever I'm feeling, like, lost or, like, hopeless or anything, I go back and I reread my conversations with her after she sent me that talk, and it always just, like, helps me remember, like, where I came from and, like, how far I've gotten to now, and it's, like, always just been such a great blessing.
I love that. Almost sounds like an answer to prayer is to have that support. Like, just that is just what you needed. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was super cool, and, like, the fact that I had been struggling, like, for so long, and I'm like, "This is what I needed." So, I had, asked, the sisters, and I was like, "Hey, I wanna get my patriarchal blessing." And they were, like, freaking out, and they're like, "We haven't even talked about this yet. How do you know about it?" I'm like, "Oh, my family member,
Mhm.
or, like, one of my friends are telling me about it." And, they were like, "Well, basically, like, what we can tell you, like, the simple down version of it is, like, it's your own personal scripture."
Yeah.
I remember getting my patriarchal blessing, and I honestly don't really remember a lot of it, like, the moment when I was getting it, because like, I'm gonna be honest, I could have fallen asleep because I was just, like, so at peace with myself and so comfortable, and it was truly, like, amazing, and, like, that's how I got a lot of my, like, prayers answered. Because I was at the point where I was, like, going back and forth if I wanna serve a mission. Because I was like, one hand, I want to, the other hand, I don't. So then I was asked to give a talk then. The next week, we had state conference. When I was writing my talk, I was like, "I'm gonna make people cry."
Uh-huh.
I made myself cry, but,
Crazy. Crazy how that works.
yeah. So then after I was done with my talk, so many people came up to me. So many people. And these were people I didn't even know, like, and then I got pulled, by the sisters that were serving in my area. They were like, "We have some people that wanna talk to you," and I'm like, "What?" So, they pulled me, and it was a bunch of, like, the elders and, like, the other
Oh
sisters,
my gosh.
and they're like, "We loved your testimony," like, it was so heartfelt and, like, so personal, and, they were like so then one of the sisters and, like, one of the elders both look at each other, and they both blurt out, "So you're gonna serve a mission?" I'm like, whoa,
Mhm.
like, I had already figured out, like, that I fully wanted to after my patriarchal blessing,
Yeah,
but after having so many people ask me, I'm like, I mean, yeah, I want to, and they're
there it
like
is.
they were just, like, all flabbergasted, and I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, I didn't really understand how big of, like, a thing it was at the time, but, like,
Mhm.
even though this was literally, like, a month ago, I think now,
Yeah,
or about, but I realized I was like, "So this is why it means so much to them." When I realized, like, what I wanted that I wanted to serve, and I remember I reached out to my one family member, and I told her, and she's like, "I knew that you would be able to do it," and, like, she knew that I wanted to serve a mission, and I told her about how, like, president called me and you asked me to give a talk, and she's like, "This is just your one step closer to getting, like, ready for your mission, like, everything that you're doing now is, like, preparing you for your mission."
it's true. It's
Like,
true.
and I was like, "Yeah, I hate to say it, but you're right." But
Jenny, as we're kinda wrapping up here, there's just one question I always like to finish with, and that's just if you were to talk with someone who was investigating or thinking about joining the church right now, what sort of advice would you wanna share with them in, like, 30 seconds?
I'd say just go for it because, like, I have been this is the happiest I've been in, like, the longest time, and I am so happy that I'm a part of the church and that, like, I've had, like, so many opportunities to, like, even go to the temple and everything, and it's amazing, and I love being a part of the LDS church.
Well, Jenny, thank you so much for sharing that and for just being vulnerable and sharing your experience. I know that pretty much anyone who watches this is gonna feel the spirit and is gonna be so grateful for what you've shared. I know I am. So, thank you so much for coming on and for talking with us today.
Of course.
And thank you guys for tuning in and for watching today. If you want to get in contact with Jenny or follow her on social media, we'll have that link down in the description below. We'll also have a link to our playlist as well with all of our conversion stories. So if you like this, be sure to go check those out. But that's all we have for you guys today. And we'll see you guys next time.